We're going to kick off with our sound advice this afternoon, and a whole range of topics we talk about on sound advice. Some of them quite broad. This one very specific. It's about divorce today and the new no-fault divorce law, which is coming in soon. And to help steer us through this, Joe O'Sullivan joins us, a solicitor and accredited family mediator at O'Sullivan Family Law based in Hove. Joe O'Sullivan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Danny. How can I help?
Well, what we would like to know is what the changes are to divorce laws and when they're coming in.
Great questions. Okay, well, everything's coming in, hopefully, on the 6th of April this year. It's been a long time coming. We've been waiting a couple of years for this, but obviously you'll realise with COVID and everything, things were delayed. So what are the changes? You used to have to blame your spouse, civil partner, for the breakup of the relationship.
That's a weird thing, isn't it? Having to apportion blame. Why can't you just say, we're not really in love anymore, so we're going to go our separate ways, if that's all right with you?
If I had £1 for every time someone asked me that, I'd be a very rich woman.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. No,
I'll send you me quid.
Thank you. Every little helps. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's nonsense, isn't it? I mean, lots of people come to this conclusion. Why have to, throw rocks at the other person? It's just a nonsense. And this has been fought for by lots of people because we don't want to start things off on this kind of footing. So before you had to blame somebody, you had to say, well, it was your behaviour, the reason why things broke down. You'd have to think of 5 or 6 reasons, some serious, not so serious, for why you shouldn't have to live with this person anymore. Or you had to say the other person committed adultery. If you were in a different sex relationship, you could say, oh, they've had sexual intercourse. Oh, can I say that on the radio in the middle of the day?
Yes,
with a person of a different sex. Again, it's blame. So this is a move away from that.
Yeah, and I wonder if is there a section of people who will think that this makes marriage, couplings, partnerships more frivolous, transient, easier to give up rather than stick at it and work at it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why there's been objections to taking away blame. I think there has been a thought that, if we make it too easy for people, they'll just leave marriage. They'll just leave their civil partnerships. But the evidence that isn't really the reason why people end their relationships. They end relationships for really good reasons. I've never had anyone that's come to me and said, Joe, I need to end this marriage, this civil partnership. Oh, because I just fancy it. I'm a bit bored. This is a really huge
that's reassuring. Really, that is reassuring.
Well, they might be a bit bored in all sorts of ways, but that's not the main reason.
Yeah, understood. All right. So are we entering into an era where you may not need to take legal advice or have a solicitor to separate? Does it become easier for us as a couple, as individuals, to go through the process or not?
Yeah, I think it does in many ways. I mean, the 6th of April, 2022 is not you don't need a solicitor anymore day. It's not that day.
Well, that's good for you.
Well, yeah, in some ways it'd be great if no one ever needs me again. But let's not go down that road for now. No, certainly, but there's still you still need advice in relation to how to sort out the finances upon divorce. That's complicated. People give away all sorts of rights, and they don't know what their responsibilities are either. So it's a really good idea to get some, sensible legal advice, so what you should be doing, what would be fair in your particular circumstances. Every case is different, of course.
Yeah. And so eventually, once it kicks in 6th of April onwards, hopefully you'll be able to get to a stage where you agree that your relationship isn't working anymore, you want to go your separate ways, and then there's just the slightly tetchy areas of finance, and of course, if there's children involved as well, which, I mean, my sense is, Joe, and you'll be able to confirm this or otherwise, that when it comes to sorting out what happens to the children, custody, visiting, all of that when it becomes really emotional.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that this change, taking away from the blame, will also change the narrative around divorce. The narrative at the moment is very negative. It's all your fault. Oh, you're not seeing the kids. All that kind of. There's no need for all of that. There's no. These things happen. We're all grown ups. About half the relationships end in divorce or a depressingly high statistic, but this is normal now. So there's no need for all of that. But yes, when it comes to the children, of course people are going to be upset and worried about it. They're the most important things in the world.
Yeah. And does this come with any extra protection for the kids? Because sometimes they feel like they're being dragged from pillar to post. They don't want to go to one half's house because all our stuff isn't there. It's not convenient for us this weekend, all of that. Yeah. Where do the kids sit in this?
Well, the kids are not part of this change. So this is very difficult for people to understand, but essentially there is an assumption in English law that the parents will sort out the arrangements for the children. So there's a principle.
That's a massive assumption to make, isn't it?
Well, it is, because actually that's the same actually when you're still together. There's an assumption that you will look after your children to a reasonable standard, and the state doesn't choose to interfere with that. Why would it start doing that now just because you separated? Yes, it is a big assumption, and therefore, parents need to be, I'm going to say this, parents really need to just think, okay, how can we look after the children? How can we care for the children? It's not about what I want. How can we together as parents in this new family formation look after them?
Does that need enshrining? Is this the next piece of work down the line, do you think, when it comes to divorce law?
It's already there. I mean, we've had the Children Act since 1989. There is no presumption that either parent is better than the other. The presumption is that they're both good enough, and that, well, let's let them look after the children as best they can.
But as you were saying before, if you take the heat out of the situation by having to apportion blame, then actually you start at a much lower level of perhaps anger in some cases. So if there's a bit of tension about, custody of the children or whatever, you're not already at a 7 or 8 on your anger scale. You might be at a 2 or 3.
Really good point. I mean, that is my big hope. I'm really hopeful that we take the blame away. That's just another burden on people. So what they can do is say, okay, it's the end. We can make a joint application. We can get our divorce application into the court together. We can do something jointly. And I think and all the applications in relation to the divorce can be made jointly. And this is wonderful because it means that people will start thinking about working together for the future. They might not be together anymore, but they can start making these applications in relation to the divorce together, and they can go to processes that are not court to sort things out. So, they can come to mediation. If things are really heated and they might normally go to court, they can have their solicitors use a mediator to if you like, mediate between them. They can sit around the table with their lawyers or on their own and start sorting out, okay, how we can look after kids.
And remember, you were in love once. Okay.
Exactly. Well said.
Very good, Joe. Here's a final question for you. Have you got clients at the moment who are kind of just hanging on and twiddling their thumbs till April 6th?
Yeah, absolutely. Things have got very, very busy now, just in readiness for this change. Absolutely. People have been waiting.
That tells a story, doesn't it?
It really does tell a story. And, most of my clients come to me because I'm not an adversarial lawyer. I'm not I'm trying to sort things out with people. And it's always caused some unhappiness between couples that they've had to, my clients, because they've had to blame the other person. This is not how people really want to do things.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. And let's chat again soon and see how it's bedding down, perhaps a couple of weeks into April, hey?
I'd love it. Thanks so much, Danny.
Thanks for today. That was great, Joe. Thank you very much indeed. Joe O'Sullivan there from O'Sullivan Family Law based in Hove with today's Sound Advice. 18 minutes past 2 on BBC Radio Sussex and BBC Radio Surrey.